So December 2022, the astrology of December 2022, we're going to dive into it in this video. We're going to hit it pretty thoroughly. This month's all about Capricorn, the heavy Capricorn activations that are coming. I think it's going to be great astrology, some of the best astrology we've had for a few months, some of the least intense in many ways. And so just stay tuned here. We're going to dive in right now, and let's just get started. I wanted to, before I start looking at charts and start really going in, I want to just make an announcement. My reading schedule, I've been quite booked out, I've realized, and I don't prefer that. I really like to have availability. And so I've kind of moved my schedule around. I've tweaked some stuff. I'm going to have some readings opening for, a few more slots here over the next 2 months. I wasn't available until February. That's going to change. So if you've been wanting a reading with me, look for that. I'm going to make that change later today. And then also my prices will be tweaking up with readings, not heavily, but I am tweaking them back up. All my colleagues, always tell me, raise your prices, raise your prices, raise your prices. So I'm going to listen to them. That's not going to happen until the new year at some point. But, so just know that's coming. And I just wanted to make you aware of that. If you want a reading, now is the time to get it. More will be opening up. Okay, let's shift back into this astrology of the month, because it's a major theme of 2022. A lot of those major themes of the year are completing here. And there's a lot of activity this month, a lot of change with planetary ingresses, but we have no eclipse season this month. We have no Mars opposition. That's one of the major themes here. Mars and Saturn, by the end of the month, the planets are not being affected by them quite as dynamically. So let's just start. I'm going to run through aspects. We're going to go into everything. And like I said at the beginning, I think this is a great month of astrology. And there's a lot of opportunity here to enjoy family time, Christmas or friends. That whole holiday season gets some really good boosts. So let's just start. Kick off with a December 1st Thursday transit. That is tomorrow, very early in the morning. I've got this set for Brussels, Central European time. And the first transit I wanted to look at is this opposition. These oppositions here with Venus, Mercury, and Mars, and then, of course, the moon. I've picked this chart because it's a T-square, transit T-square with the moon in Pisces. It's the mutable T-square that we're in now by sign. We start perfecting a lot of these oppositions to Mars. Of course, the Mercury oppositions already happened, but it's the Venus opposition to Mars triggered by the moon. What are Venus, Mars? Planets of relationship and mutable signs, planets of change. Acrimony can be Mars, arguing with Mars and Gemini. Even just looking and reviewing the histories and the pasts of your life with your relationships or with how we might have behaved with people. That is all part of the Mars retrograde story. And then Venus and Sag comes in. Maybe there's a way to formulate kind of hope for future based on reviews of the past relationally, and that the kind of tension that can sometimes be there with this lunar trigger. What I love about it is that the moon is in Pisces with Jupiter, one of the final times. And so I think the deepening of the kind of justice themes of Jupiter, the releases from bonds, that's all a part of the Venus Mars opposition. Is this sort of like, what's the higher truth and where's the freedom in the future as we review our past? So it's a tough transit, though. We kick off with some real kind of grimy, activated, intensities here in the mutable axis here on 1st December, Thursday, about 6 in the morning, Central European time. Let's just keep moving. A lot of these themes are going to continue and repeat. Next chart I want to look at. This is the moon Jupiter conjunction, the final one this cycle. The next one doesn't happen until the 2030s, where you have the moon with Jupiter in Pisces. And so it's the Piscean. It's this kind of final Piscean conclusion that we're going to get here in December, because Jupiter does ingress into Aries later in the month. Think about Pisces, think about Jupiter, think about this sign, how it operates in your chart. If you're using whole sign houses, what house is this? It's these kind of final cohering around the themes of Jupiter and Pisces. Again, Jupiter is beneficence, hope, vision for future, dreams, optimism, release from freedom, release from troubles. Jupiter's a mutable planet because it rules mutable signs. The changes that are the better. Not always easy changes with Jupiter, but they look for what's changed over this period in 2022 here that's coming to an end now. And what is Pisces? Truth, wisdom, the depths of self, the beauty of expressing wisdom and the power of kind of the inner life and all of the kind of inner beauties that poetry and music is often about this inner world. We sing about that. Venus is the exaltation ruler of Pisces. So I'm looking for, how has your inner world been released from freedom and from bondage, and particularly that sector of the chart. For example, if it's the sixth house, maybe you've had some kind of health wisdom that's emerged, or changes in diet or activity. Okay, that's a sweet little transit, December 2nd. Not my favorite transit of the month, but one of the sweeter ones because of this kind of final bidding adieu of Jupiter and Pisces that happens this month. And okay, I'm going to keep pushing. And I'm bringing the tarot in. I love it as a piece here. This is the Pamela Coleman-Smith scans from her deck. This is the public domain version of this deck. I love that these are available in the public domain now. But here's Jupiter, the Wheel of Fortune, right? All of the expansions and the changes of the fate and fortune that Jupiter can imply. And then the moon, right? The internal world. This is all about the, what happens at night. We sort of, we yearn during the night for visions of our selfhood and the kind of deeper parts of ourselves that maybe are hidden, except, at times at night they can emerge, or when we're in a quiet place in our home life. And so that's why I think the fortune that has come in this inner world, you can see it here expressed in the tarot symbolism quite well. So I just wanted to bring that in. Next transit, 6 December 2022, Tuesday here in Central Europe. This is going to be the Mercury square Jupiter. The reason why I wanted to highlight this is because as Jupiter finishes its time in Pisces, both Mercury and Venus are going to square Jupiter. And Jupiter's the domicile ruler of Sagittarius. And so all of these Jupiterian turns, the beneficence, the truth, the higher level worldview shifts, maybe the difficult realizations that are going to free us though from pain or from what we've been going through, right? Those support this outer world Sagittarian movement that I've been talking about, where we talk about things, we move out into the outer world, and we maybe talk about our beliefs and ideals and society with other people, right? This is Sagittarius. It's the identities of the self joining the kind of movement. And I've been, all the protests that are happening all over the world, I do think there's heavy Sagittarian influence. You've got Iran, you've got China, people just saying, no, this is me, this is what we want. They're kind of going out with these kind of Sagittarian notions of freedom and self, and then asserting that. And so, but keep in mind, you have the support from Jupiter, but this is quite dynamic as well. And so maybe there's like this interplay between the outer world engagement and then the inner realizations that come from that as these squares all perfect. But it very much supports the opposition to Mars to have Jupiter here overcoming Mars and then supporting via rulership the stellium. And so you get that on the 6th of December, the square between Jupiter and Mercury. 6th of December later in that same day, Mercury will enter Capricorn, and it really is starting to now build and set up the Capricorn theme that emerges here in December. It starts in the 6th of December. Capricorn gets triggered with Mercury's interest and this entrance, and Mercury will spend a whole retrograde cycle here. It's not until late January, early February that Mercury will enter Aquarius finally. So we've got a 2-month stint of Mercury here in Capricorn, rejuvenating and going backwards and reviewing the Capricorn sector. I love it because Mercury has an Earth planet ruling Virgo. It's kind of the detail orientation around some of these deeper parts of our body and home and family. It's kind of nice to have it there. It won't be retrograde on Christmas. I don't think we'll get those dates up here in a second, but it'll start retrograding. The process begins now. And certainly after the holiday season, we'll be dealing with much of the retrograde. And so that might be, what the things that happen during the holiday season, those things might, require some review after they take place. Okay, let me just keep going here. That's the major shift. Mercury on December 6th, Tuesday, enters Capricorn, and we're building into this new moon in Capricorn. That's a stellium that's going to be quite wonderful. 8th December, Thursday. This is the full moon in Gemini. I'll talk more about it. I'll do a whole video on it, but it's right with Mars. And you got to get keyed into this full moon, a really mutable Mars retrograde full moon, the most dose of Mars retrograde we have, right about halfway through the retrogradation period of Mars, a little over halfway. And the moon is, 6 degree minutes away from Mars in this opposition with the sun. And I think all of the kind of the pent up pressures of, this Mars retrograde. I know I was about a month in, I was like, I'm done with this. And I was like, oh, you've got 2 more, a month and a half more. we're having to hang in here with the Mars retrograde story. And this might be a moment where it's too much. Social media would be an example. Too much, Elon Musk or Twitter or all the changes that's going on there. Too much work. If this has been a particularly busy trigger for you, I know it has for me. And too much acrimony, whatever disputes you have relationally, you've got that maybe being triggered. One thing to point out, Saturn does support by trine. And so you can lean into, what structures and boundaries and borders and kind of new rules are you operating by in your life with that Saturn and Aquarius. That will help you navigate whatever these disputes are going to be. Just refer to those new boundaries that you've been developing over the last few, years, really, as a support here for this new moon to kind of ground the ship, let's say, or keep things steady. So, okay, I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to move kind of fast. I mean, I don't want to take up too much of your time. This is a kind of bigger month. And I pulled out a few charts here. So moon late Gemini in the days right after the full moon will have a T-square and trigger another one of these mutable T-squares, this time from Gemini with Mars, Jupiter in Pisces, Venus in Sagittarius. And so again, you get another moon-triggered mutable T-square, and I won't say much more about it, except I think this one maybe relates to the yearnings of hope that are part of the changes you've been having, like post-eclipse season, and with Jupiter back in Pisces, and with Mars retrograde, the pauses and maybe waiting for things to happen, but maybe new clarity around your vision of who you want to be and what you want to do. And the kind of tension between the past and the wait here, and then this new year, this new shift to 2023, all the hopes and dreams that can emerge. Remember, 2023 sees Venus in a fire sign, spending 4 months there retrograde in Leo. So that is kind of resonant, Venus with the sun. So maybe there's a little preview of that, the hope for next summer that's building. And then, of course, Jupiter is finishing its time in Pisces, and that's been a period of change and transition for all of us, the mutable planet Jupiter and the mutable sign Pisces. So I feel like that's some of this tension here, the kind of delays and holding back of the Mars retrograde, the winter, if you're north, down under, of course, summer, but this hope and vision for next year that we're in the in-between zone. That's what mutability is. We're in between right now. It's one way to look at this astrology with so much mutable activation. Okay, next, 9 December, Friday. What is this? This is the sextile, the square that completes between Venus and Jupiter. I just talked about that, so I'm not going to say much more here, but just know that comes the same day as the mutable T-square with the moon. Just hours later, you get the perfection of Venus and Jupiter. So that whole day on Friday might be kind of this hopeful in-between place that might be tense. Sometimes, it's like, I want to get started. I want to be there. I want to be to this other place, and I can see it, and I know where that is. But it's not, you're not there. We're not there. There's a lot of steps that have to be taken to get there. And I think with this astrology, it's like we have to wait for Jupiter to enter Aries on the winter solstice. We have to wait for Saturn to enter Pisces. In March, we have to wait for Mars retrograde to be over. 12 January, Mercury retrograde to be over on 18 January. And so there's a lot of kind of waiting right now. And that might be some of the tension with these squares and oppositions in the mutable axis. Okay, push. 10 December, Saturday. Right here, Central Europe. What chart is this? This is it's Venus into Capricorn. And put this on your calendar, 10 December, because I think Venus's entry into Capricorn is going to come as a major, major relief. Venus was fallen in Scorpio during eclipses, right? Both eclipses had that, exiled Venus in Scorpio. Then Venus was in Sagittarius, where it doesn't have much going on, okay? But it had to oppose Mars and was mixed up with the sun and under the sun's beams. Venus coming into Capricorn is finally a sign where Venus has some dignity. It's got day triplicity dignity. It will come out of the sun's beams here while it's in Capricorn during December. So Venus, it's the return of Venus, might be the month of December to describe it. Pleasure, adornment, connectivity, unity, love, all kinds of togetherness that comes with Venus and the ways that we make ourselves look and present ourselves to reflect our value, which we're all valuable. So this is just a beautiful configuration to have. This boost that Venus gets 10 December, setting up the holiday season, setting up all the family stuff people may be doing. It's a big change, and it's a major change. So enjoy it. Here's my AI. I had it make a little bit of art here, and you can see I love this Venus feeding the goat, and contemplating maybe the side of Capricorn I'll talk about here in a little bit. It's Capricorn's a heavy duty sign. It's a fundamental sign for all of reality. It's kind of the dark side of the nature of existence, right? The truths that are, when you lift the veil and you see the dark truth. I think about Neo in the Matrix when he meets like the architect and some of these people where it's like, oh, wow, this is really what reality is. And we have to kind of face the kind of demons and the kind of serious, heavy duty truth of reality. That's how I think about Capricorn. But you can bring beauty into it, and you can even celebrate against that. That's what Saturnalia is, right? These Roman festivals, they would pick this time when there's minimal sun and when it's like harsh, maybe, to have their biggest parties. And so you can sort of celebrate in the face of difficult truths about reality. Okay, push, 11 December, the next day. This is I think the best transit so far of the whole month. I just wanted to share this one, because this is an election that I think we can all lean into. It's a moon in Cancer. Moon is safe from Mars, safe from Saturn. It's averse to both. Moon is trining Jupiter and opposing Venus. So both benefics see this moon. It's a waning moon, but that can be nice for rest and just, enjoying whatever you're wanting to do here during this holiday period, like good for shopping or planning or being with family or just whatever you want to do. This is like the best moon. You get it applying to Jupiter. It's that final application of the moon to Jupiter while the moon is in a pretty decent condition while Jupiter's in Pisces. So this is kind of the final celebration of Jupiter in Pisces, I think. 11 December 2022, what is that? 7:48 Central Europe. Enjoy this one. Okay, next 12, the next day, right around the same time, in 7:12 p.m., you get the sun sextile to Saturn. And I don't really want to say much about this here other than to say it's Saturn in Aquarius. We're counting down to when it leaves Aquarius. Saturn won't be back in Aquarius for 30 years. And so this little pocket here where you have just the sun left making that sextile, the sun has passed Mars, no more oppositions from Mars. And there's this kind of idea that, what is the vision of yourself in this new world, this new technological world, the new world of borders, boundaries, structures, that's the Aquarian, the innovative world we're in, all the changes that have become. What did that do to you from March 2020 until now? This is a kind of time to really review and cohere has been my favorite word, cohering our Saturn and Aquarius upgrades. And I think this little pocket from 12 December is a kind of punctuation. This is, of course, operative now, but this is a nice little slot to consider that. And you've got here the next day or a few days later, 17 December. I wanted to point this out as the second level in terms of a great election, in my view, for this month. This is kind of my second option. You would have the moon here in Libra applying to Venus and Capricorn. Finally, a moon-Venus application where the Venus is now, right coming out from the sun's beams. This is what we call emphasis, because Venus will be that beautiful, powerful goddess hanging in the evening sky right about here in mid-month. You're going to be able to see it definitely in the later part of the month. And so the moon gets to fuse with that lovely, beautiful Venus that's being reborn in the Egyptian terms of Jupiter, the moon in the Egyptian terms of Mercury. They're also being received by its Egyptian terms ruler, trining its exaltation ruler. This moon has tons of support. And it's a lovely, get it still it's applying to Venus. And we can kind of begin to celebrate other people. And I love it that this is that weekend of like Christmas shopping or traveling before Christmas if you're celebrating, or even just holiday seasons if you're going home or whatever. It's like that time where people are finishing out and sort of pivoting to the Venusian, right? The celebration and the party of unity and closeness and togetherness and music, right? Christmas music, some of my favorite. I love that Last Christmas song by George Michael and I guess Wham. That one, I got into it a few years back because I just heard it everywhere. And it never leaves my mind. I'll sing that any time of the year. But maybe that's good for the Mercury retrograde. We're kind of going back over, thinking about maybe a Last Christmas or something like this. Okay, Let's keep moving forward here. 18 December 2022, Sunday, that same weekend. This is a moon trine Saturn. And all I wanted to do with this is just underscore this grand air trine that's been happening. Every time the moon comes into Libra, we get another one. And so you really are, everything I said earlier about Saturn and Aquarius and those pivots into this kind of cohering of the Saturn and Aquarius story, the innovations, the newness, the new boundaries, the new stability that we have, maybe around really anything in our outer world. But technology has been so important in terms of the collective. This is another time to consider this whole weekend, like the new you, the post-Saturn and Aquarius you. And what are the foundations that were laid with Saturn and Aquarius that you can build upon? I mean, I know I've talked to a lot of people, and for myself, there's all kinds of shifts I'm looking forward into doing next year. But there's so much that was given to me during Saturn and Aquarius, so much lovely, lovely changes. And there's a lot I want to keep and build upon. Some I want to shift out of, but these are the kind of trines, these air trines, grand air trines, when they hit. See, it's also Mars retrograde. It's that deep review, the digging that Mars retrograde Gemini does. We can like dig out and figure out what we want to keep from Saturn and Aquarius and what we want to let go of. So just use that whole weekend. I think this is going to be a dope weekend, an awesome weekend. Okay. All right, let me keep moving. And here's the Saturn and Aquarius from the tarot. Remember, Saturn is the world card. You see, this person's being born into the new. That's the power of Saturn. It's tough, it's challenging, it gives us, difficulty, but it wants us to be born into that new structure. And that's the Aquarian, right? Here's the star, Aquarius. Look at her kneeling into this new and pouring out the truths and the new, realizations and the new life, really. The new life gets poured out into this new area where the new home is. And that is what Saturn is. It's the birth of the new. That's a Miles Davis record, by the way. Love that. Okay, so that's just a little bit more about Saturn and Aquarius. I'm talking about Saturn and Aquarius so much because it's really these final months of it, and I want you all to get inspired and honor it. Really honor it. I mean, this is what astrology is. It's the nature of time, and as we move day by day, month by month, year by year, we can honor what we've gone through. We can be thankful. And we can be inspired, and we can continue living well. That's the main theme of life. Let's continue living well, But Saturn and Aquarius, because it's so slow and it's so powerful there, and those symbols represent newness. It really underscores that life belief. And keep in mind, the air element is the Fool, right? You can kind of be sort of happy-go-lucky. Then this is all about the new energy. And we're stepping into that collectively into 2023. First time we'll have a sextile between Jupiter and Saturn since they conjoined on the solstice in 2020. So we're in a whole new era in 2023. And just, you can kind of go into it with a little bit of levity, you might say. The air element's kind of light. It's all about ideas, being quick to change, Okay, let's push. 20th December, what is this chart? This one is it's Jupiter into Aries, major stuff. The second bite out of the Jupiter and Aries apple, March 2022 to October 2022. A lot of stuff I saw going on with my friends, myself, and other people. We're going to get that second dose of it, and it'll move through here in the first 5 months of 2023 fast. And it begins right here on December 20th, 2022. So I know this video is going on, so I'm not going to say too much more about it other than to say it's a fiery and passionate Aries. It brings a focus back with this Jupiter onto doing things for our own kind of agency and our own beliefs, and starting fresh and new, right? This is the 0 point of Aries. But the idea that what's best for you, right? Exalted sun in Aries, Mars, the planet of action, the domicile ruler. This is all about, knowing who you are and taking action that reflects that. And of course, the night triplicity ruler, Jupiter there, of how that can benefit us. Sometimes we just said, listen, I'm going to put myself first for a while. I have to, or else I'm going to basically go away, right? There's a season to put ourselves first and act from a place of our own centeredness. Some people would argue without that, we actually can't serve others. And so this is the time to recenter your own kind of powers and your own passions and your own actions in this Aries sector of your chart. And you get another bite out of it. I think this part of Jupiter in Aries, this season of it's a lot sweeter in some ways, because you don't have some of the intense eclipse activations that we had in 2022. But let me just keep going. Here's the AI, just as a rendition. I thought this was a cool, Jupiter in Aries. There would be Jupiter. There's the ram, because it's a weird looking one. AI is weird. Okay, let me move on. December 22nd, the sun comes into Capricorn. And by the way, the next month that I'm going to do this longer term video, I'm going to start doing solar season rather than the month by month, because we have an astrological calendar. It's the sun through the signs. That's our division of 12. And I want to operate within that rhythm as opposed to the calendrics that are maybe more, imposed. And so I'm not going to say much more about this after a moment, because I'm going to have a whole nother video that I'm going to release before this date where I'm going to go into it. But this is the next, we get Capricorn season. A stellium now in Capricorn underscores the element of Capricorn. We get a new moon in Capricorn on the 23rd, 2 days later. Powerful new moon, 4-planet stellium. With a strong Saturn ruling it. Jupiter in Aries is accelerating and expanding it from the other cardinal sign. This is a very cool cardinal moon, both benefics and cardinal signs. Malefics are reversed to the syzygy. And so you get this kind of benefic Capricornian energy. And then I go back to the tarot. There's the devil. This is Capricorn. No, don't be afraid of this. I mean, this is just simply a rendition, Pamela Coleman Smith's rendition. I think it's about the shadow side of our selfhood, right? What happens when you close the door and no one's around? What are you struggling with? What's on your mind and heart? That's kind of Capricorn. We all have, our secrets, right? It's kind of secrets, family secrets, or secrets of what we think about or how we really are. That's all the kind of rootedness that goes deep into Capricorn. Saturn, and then it's Mars, because that's really what we act from, right? Mars is action. We act from that kind of real deep. It's like people drink, and then their kind of tendencies come out when those ambitions or inhibitions are lowered. That's Capricorn, But in the best ways, it's like when we get familiar with that deep stuff, it's so fruitful. It's so generative. We can see it clearly. We can own it. We can let it inspire our creativity, with Venus being there. Like all the best art, I think, comes from a place of Capricorn. When you look at the real, true darkness and the real, true kind of underside of things, all the best art comes from there. Shakespeare is all about that. Someone wants to kill their enemy because of jealousy. That's all this. So, okay, I'm going to riff too long. Let me keep moving. The final chart I wanted just to show you is you get this first Aries moon and 0 degrees of Aries right at the end of the month, 29 December. That one is a cool one. It's going to kick off Jupiter in Aries, I think, pretty quickly, even more so than the syzygy, the new moon. This is a kind of nice moon. We finish out December with this cool Aries moon, at least for some of the days. I think it might go into Taurus before the 1st, but this is a great kind of moon to have right here as we're transitioning into the new year. Aries, initiation, power, force, passion, excitement about the year ahead. Okay, that's the December astrology. Thanks for being here. I know, I guess it went on a little long. That's okay, but you can see, here's my site again. Remember, opening up some new readings for the next 2 months, because I want to be available. Boom, prices are going to raise in probably January, February. So get those if you like. And that is the video. I want you to have a wonderful December. Remember those 2 elections I showed you, the moon in Cancer, the moon in Libra. Those are the times if you've got stuff to do to initiate. And have a great month. I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.